Charities and my opinion. Hello everybody, it's Tom here. I hope you're all well. Today we're going to discuss the idea of charities, charitable organisations, what they do and how it's not all it appears. Right. First thing is, we're coming to that time of year now where we are coming up to Christmas time, and Christmas time, you may well have noticed, is a time of year when certain charities, certain organisations will really tug at the heartstrings. You know, probably because at Christmas time we're all feeling a bit more generous, a bit more relaxed, and we're generally being a bit more nice to our fellow man, which is something that should be the whole year round, but technically it's not. But usually for 2.5 weeks a year, between the period of Christmas, we actually are nice to each other, and that's really refreshing. Obviously, as soon as the New Year's come and gone, it's reverting back to type and people will just be miserable and whatever else. But the majority are generous, and most people are generally decent and generous and will help others, but not everybody. I would say that I'm generous to a point, but equally I'm not a mug. And I have to say this because I have experienced firsthand what it's like. I've worked for a charity. I've seen what it's like being on the other side when you get people come to you. And equally, as a homeowner, I get people approach me for money, for charitable donations. Let it be said, there is very, very small group of people that I would give money to, that I think are worthy causes. And when I say that, all causes are worthy. However, I refuse to give to people and to charities where most of that money is going to go in terms of admin fees, because it's not the idea of charity, it's wrong. And I refuse to give to charities where the money doesn't seem to be getting to the end person. Okay? Example, Oxfam. I will never give to them, because for all they preach and say they do really great work, there are people in Africa that are struggling, and they are struggling because the money that is given to that charity is not getting to the person that needs it and deserves it. So I will not support these people. End of story. They won't get a penny out of me. And some will say that's not very nice, but I will generally help somebody who is a genuine case. I will not be fooled. There are a lot of con artists out there, a lot of scammers. Be wary. When you're walking down the street and somebody approaches you from a charity, do you check their ID? Does it look legitimate? Do you ask them questions about the organisation? Do you walk on? Most people walk on saying, I've not got time. Fine, absolutely fine. But what you will find is that around this time of year, charities will try and pull you in because of the time of year. Every year at Christmas time, I get a card from the Salvation Army. And I have nothing against the Salvation Army. My granddad was in the Salvation Army and he played an instrument. I think they're a great charity. And I will give to them if there's a box going round, or put a couple of pound in or something. But I will not sign up for a long-term, monthly charitable amount. Charity begins at home. It's a phrase that you've probably heard, and it's one I absolutely agree with. You can't support someone else if you're unable to support yourself. And there are lots of people out there who are being pushed to the breadline by the cost of living crisis, and they can't help and support charities. So what people who are working charities should be understanding is, people can only afford what they can afford. My brother was given to the NSPC, which is a children's charity, and he was happy donating a smaller contribution once a month. That wasn't enough for them. They kept sending him letters demanding more money, and eventually he said, nope, you're not getting any more. I'm pulling out. And I can 100% understand. What you can afford is what you can afford. If you can't afford to give anything to charity, that's fine. I don't think ill of you at all. At the end of the day, you've got to be right in yourself first. You can't support someone if you're not supporting yourself. It's the age-old thing about who you save first if you're drowning. Well, you save yourself, because if you can't save yourself, how can you ever save anybody else? And I've come to learn this the hard way, alright? I have also worked for a charity. Yes, a couple of years back, I worked for the Citizens Advice Bureau as a volunteer when I was between jobs, and it was an amazingly rewarding experience and really great, but it was an eye-opener. I've also worked for my local food bank, and that's an eye-opener too. You see people at their most bereft and in most difficult circumstances where they've literally got nothing. They can't even afford to put food on the table, and that is heartbreaking. But then you see other people who actually, they're not honest. They're taking money, they're getting food, they're getting benefit, and they're playing the system. They're playing the system, and those that need the support and the help, some of them won't approach for help because they're too embarrassed and too ashamed, which is awful. But the fact is, and the main voice here on this video here today, is that you give to charity whatever you can afford. And I will honestly say, hand on heart, if you don't give to charity, that's totally fine. It's justifiable if you can't afford to. Because at the end of the day, it's a choice, and you should only ever give what you can afford. Don't ever allow a charity or anyone who's posing as a charity to ask for more money than you can afford. And do not feel guilty if you can't give. That's the lesson here today, and the message, alright? There will always be the need to help those that are less fortunate. Where you can help if you can. But don't allow anyone to guilt you into giving more money. And don't let anyone guilt you if you generally can't help. At the end of the day, we can't all help. We can't always be there. We can make other donations, and we can be generous in other ways. By giving up your time, volunteering. It's not always about money. Okay? Guys, very important message. Now we're coming up to this season, alright? First of 3 videos this week. Thank you all ever so much for listening. I really appreciate your time and energy spending on my channel. Thank you. First of 3, as I said. Put down in the comment section below. What's your experience of charities? Do you find that if ever you join or support one, that they're always asking for more, and that they're relentless in their approach? Personally, I don't think it's acceptable, and I think that they should have the decency to recognise that people can only afford what they can afford. If they can only afford £1, that's all we can ask. That's all you should ask for. If more people were to take that attitude, they'd probably find more people would contribute, and they would never ever be like begging for money all the time. Remember to hit that subscribe button down below. Leave me a thumbs up and a like, and let's hear that bell sign go ding dong so you know when my next content's out. Back in a couple of days with another new video. But until then, I want to say thank you all ever so much for listening. Really appreciate your time and energy here, as always, on my channel. Take care of yourselves, and bye for now.